Okay, in this video, I'm gonna go over a leg day variation that I normally do. I typically have two different leg days that differ between exercise selection, exercise sequencing, and this leg workout is my legs one workout, which is essentially the first leg day that I do. First of all, legs are a muscle group that, to be honest, you don't need that much volume for. Sometimes I even do as little as 3 exercises. But I go all out to the point where I feel sick, that I can't walk the next day, and sometimes I even have to take 2 rest days after my leg day. Either way, you know you need to train hard, but train even harder for legs and they will grow. So before I get into my working sets, every leg day I make sure to roll out my legs using a foam roller. So I roll out my hamstrings, my calves, my quads, my glutes, my lower back even. It's very important just to get them loose and to avoid injury when I come onto my heavy movements. This is going to maximize blood flow and maximize pumps as a result. So today's first exercise was the standing calf raise, a great variation to target the upper calf. And I know what you're thinking, why is bro starting with calves? Well, let me ask you a question, bro. If you have skinny calves, why aren't you hitting them first? Oh, my calves are small, they don't grow, there's no point. Well, yeah, maybe because you hit them at the end of your leg day where you're absolutely gassed. You need to order your workout based on your weak points. What muscle groups do you need to bring up personally? And so if your calves suck, like mine do, you need to hit them first. Just like if you have small shoulders, you don't hit your chest first on your push day, you hit your shoulders. So first tip, if you have small calves, start your workout with calf raises. So here I do 5 sets. First 3 sets are going to be warm-up sets within the 12 to 15 rep range, just getting blood into the calf, getting a nice little pump. Then the last 2 sets I take till failure, failing within the 10 to 12 rep range, following each set with body weight standing calf raises. So kind of like a drop set after each set. I spend 2 seconds in the contractions, squeezing as hard as I can, and I make sure to get a really big stretch at the bottom with super slow eccentrics. Training cue here that might help you with mind-muscle connection with your calves is pausing halfway up the rep and then pushing up from there. So almost like you're doing 2 reps in one, if that makes sense. So do the first half of the range of motion, pause, then the second half of the range of motion and pause at the top. This will help you connect with your calves better, train them more effectively, and grow more, I found. Next exercise is the lying hamstring curl. This is another exercise which I love to do. The squeeze is phenomenal. Again, like your calf raises, if you struggle with a mind-muscle connection, do the pause halfway up trick. It will help enhance the squeeze that you get. This is a very slow exercise, I like to call it, meaning you drag the weight with your hamstrings. You don't fling it up. Think about pushing your quads into the pad and just leaving your hamstrings to drag the weight up. Also, make sure to point your feet upwards to really isolate the hamstring and take tension off the calves. Here I do 2 warm-up sets followed by 2 sets till failure. To really feel the burn, pause at the top of each rep and squeeze your hamstrings as hard as you can. And remember, those failure sets are concentric and eccentric failure. So after your last rep, which you barely got up, you're not done. Slowly lower the weight and then you're done. This will generate a lot of growth. Next is the quad extension. Now here again, I would do 2 warm-up sets followed by 2 failure sets, getting in partials after each set. I've been experimenting recently with pointing my feet upwards on the quad extension or just leaving them neutral, pointing forwards. I can definitely distinguish between both contractions. They're 2 different kind of contractions. So I think you should alternate between both styles of toe positions to maximize recruitments of muscle fibers and therefore to maximize muscle growth. Also, alternate between doing continuous reps, so not stopping at all, getting a serious burning sensation, a huge pump, and doing your extensions with strict form. So like 2-second pauses at the top, 3-second eccentrics. This is another way to maximize muscle growth because they're 2 different stimuluses, 2 different ways of training the muscle. The quad extension is the only exercise which isolates your quads fully. So in my opinion, you have to have it in every leg session. I also tend to alternate between doing these before my compound movements and after my compound movements. If I do them before my squats, then I feel my quads contract better in my squats because I've pre-exhausted. But if I do them after my squats, then I feel my quads contract better on the leg extension itself. So depending on what you want to feel your quads more in, the leg extension or the squat dictates whether you should do the leg extension before or after your squats, if that makes sense. Next exercise is the hack squat. Here I do 2 warm-up sets, working up to a top set, which I take till failure. Here I keep my feet as low and as close together as possible to put all the weight on my quads. This is a technique that I really think you should try if you're struggling to grow your quads. Now granted, you may be weaker in this position, but it isn't always about the amount of weight you move. This way, yes, you may be lifting a little bit less than if you were to squat in a normal position, but you're working your quads more. So the more you will grow using this technique, in my opinion. Really slow eccentrics, like 3 seconds, and you can pause at the bottom as well if you want to make your reps harder and if you want to get better results. And I always do these with constant tension. So always in constant motion, not pausing at the top of the rep. And on my top set, I will fail after I reach 8 reps. I heard something today. It was like, why do gymnasts have huge biceps? And I thought, yeah, well, why do they have huge biceps? They don't even curl. They don't really go to the gym, I guess. And the reason is because they do a lot of chin-ups. They do a lot of compound movements for their biceps. And that's when I realized the same is true for all muscle groups. The same is true for your quads. If you really want your legs to explode in size, yes, leg extensions are great for growing your quads, but you have to do squats. That is the money maker. So here, really push yourself. Remember, it's one set till failure, so make it count. And the final exercise here is the leg press. Here again, I do 2 warm-up sets with 1 top set taken till failure, failing within the 8 to 10 rep range. Here I also tend to switch up where I place my feet. Sometimes I put them at the bottom close together to really isolate different parts of the quad. So if I flare them out, I'll target my quad sweep, which is the outer quad. If I keep them together, I'll target the teardrop, so the inner quad. But usually I just keep a neutral feet placement to work the whole quad, including the upper quad as well. Here again, super slow eccentrics, 4 seconds to lower the weight down, spend 2 seconds in the hole, and make sure your butt doesn't come off the pad. So only go as low as you possibly can without your lower back caving in. I say this because it can cause a lot of lower back pain if you allow that to happen. And that's it, okay? This workout hits your hamstrings, your quads, your calves, and I'm sure a little bit of glutes as well. You can choose how to order these exercises. It's completely up to you. If you want to do a Smith squat instead of a hack squat, if you want to do a seated hamstring curl instead of a lying hamstring curl, if you want to do seated calf raise instead of standing calf raise, I encourage you to switch it up. I think that'll be great for maximizing muscle growth in general. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed and I hope you found this helpful. I'll see you in the next video. Peace!